I'm really excited to be here, and I really want to say that I'm a big fan of podcasts. I'm a big fan of using this kind of medium to have a long form conversation with sometimes like-minded, sometimes way outside of maybe who you're comfortable to talk to. But I think just being around somebody who cares about what they're doing like you do. I know you put a lot of thought and time into this. I can tell from the equipment, from just you wanted me to get here early.
Wow, that's so nice, Marty.
Well, it's true. It's true, buddy. I mean, you got to give credit when credit's due. I mean, a lot of people don't do this. A lot of people talk about having a podcast. A lot of people want to do a podcast. You know what the tough part about having a podcast is?
Tell me.
You just have to do it.
Yeah.
You can have the best equipment in the world.
I love it.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you got to just do it.
I think I kind of did a little bit of both with some really good equipment and doing it.
But that's fine. But if you're going to want to take it seriously like you are, then you got to do it that way. And you have the resources to do it. Yeah. So you might as well make it good.
Yeah. So that's I love how you talked about that, and I appreciate that, and I also appreciate you being here today.
Absolutely.
This is the first podcast, the first episode, and I wanted to kind of touch on the purpose of what we're doing here and why people are going to listen to this podcast, and then kind of just dive into a little bit about you and your challenges in life and how you've overcome them. So I'm going to dive right into it. I want to ask, let's talk about daily habits.
Okay.
So over the past 8 months, I've completely myself have changed my morning routines, my daily habits, my schedules, everything I'm doing. And it's really helped me in many different ways. But obviously I want to ask you, when did you first, talking to you before, I know that you do a lot of journaling, right?
Correct.
What are some other things that you do on a...
I think daily habits are insanely important. And it started probably with, first off, educating myself on personal development, right? So I think you start to learn a lot about routines and positive thinking.
And you're young, so when did you start that? Like start transitioning into that phase? And yeah.
So it was probably so I'm 30. It was probably around 27.
Okay. Yes. Awesome.
As when I started to really figure out that there's a lot going on in the world, and that there's a lot that I can do to try to be as best as I can be, right? So to answer your question, daily routine. So my daily routine, how I figure out even what a daily routine is I was listening to another podcast, Bigger Pockets, which is a great real estate investing podcast. And one of the guests was a guy named Hal, who created what's called the Morning Miracle, which you may be familiar with. And what the Morning Miracle, I do what's called a mini part of them. I do a mini Morning Miracle. So what I do is first thing in the morning, as soon as I wake up, I go to my phone and I start writing 5 things that I'm grateful for right away, right? Because as soon as you wake up in my life, right? I'm a real estate investor, entrepreneur, own my own business. You immediately have negative thoughts as soon as you wake up. Okay. So how do you curb a negative thought? What are you grateful for? You write down 5 things that you're grateful for. Those negative thoughts, gone. Okay. Because you're not thinking about, I'm not good enough, or I didn't get that deal, or
this day is good. I have so much to do today.
I have so much to do today. Yeah. I'm not doing enough. I got to get on the phone, start dialing. So yeah, number 1, 5 things I'm grateful for. I write that on my phone, and then I go into my monthly and my yearly, and then my like, what is my big why? I write it down all the time. So my yearly goal, or my monthly goal, my yearly goal, and then what is my big why, right? So I write that all down, and then I go into that's what we call scribing, my writing, and then I go into my meditation. So right after that, I get out of that bed. Okay, I wake up around 6:30, get out of bed, and then I do my Headspace app.
Nice.
Do about 10 minutes of that, 10 to 20 minutes, depending on where I'm at. And then right from there, I go into my visualizations. So it's guided. So the visualizations I do are a guided visualization, which helps me kind of get focused on, and I visualize what I want my life to look like, and that I've already done it.
Yeah.
Right. So the visualization is literally, so I am seeing what my life is going to look like in my 6 months, 3 months, 5-year, 10-year kind of story that I'm creating for myself, so that I'm trying to make it as real as possible, so that in my head, if I can do that and I can see it, then my brain starts to like, how do I accomplish these goals that Marty's got for himself, right?
Yeah.
So right into there, and then I'll do a workout during the day. So I work out every day. Okay.
Nice.
And then
is this at home or do you?
No, I'll go to the gym. I'll go
Okay.
to the gym. So I'll start to work, but then I'll go to the gym. So that's kind of like my daily routine. That's what I need to do. I got to get my meditation in. I got to get my visualization in. I definitely in the morning got to do what I'm grateful for and then what my goals are. And I got to get a workout in. I think you got to break a sweat, whether it's 10 minutes or it's an hour. I got to get in the gym.
How long have you been doing this for?
So I've been doing this for about
Consistently.
Yeah, consistently about 2 years.
Okay. And by consistently, are we doing this every single day, or is it like, for me, I have 2 kids,
Yeah.
a 1-year-old, a 4-year-old, and work from home. So I find, my consistent is 4 or 5 days a week. I'm able to actually get what I would like to get in the morning first thing. Otherwise I find times throughout the day to do it.
Absolutely.
Is this 7 days? And the reason I ask for this is because, maybe in the beginning it was only a few days, or you went really hard, and so I want people to understand that it doesn't have to be extremely consistent, but it's just finding the time to get it in and not taking too much time off. It's just like going to the gym, right?
Right.
I mean, you go on a consistent basis, but to go every day, all the time, it could be really hard, and then you eventually just stop doing it altogether. Right?
You don't want to fizzle out, right?
Exactly.
You don't want
That's
to. You don't want to just get that fatigue from, I gotta do this, but I'm doing it just to do it, right?
Okay, great. I love that.
So yeah, absolutely. Like I went hard for a while, and then I burned out, right? Trying to do all of them, like
Because you're naturally an overachiever, probably, right? I mean, as I know you as a friend, yeah.
Well,
just like me, I am too.
You're right. I get excited about it, right? You get excited about things, and you want to go really super hard at it. But that's not the right thing to do. You want to like kind of slowly build yourself up to it, and I figured that out, right? So over time. But there's definitely some must dos every day, like some must dos you have to do for me.
Yes.
And my must dos are what I write in the morning, what I'm grateful for. I do that every day.
That's your number one must do.
That's a number one must do, and another must do is some sort of workout.
Okay.
It doesn't mean I have to go to the gym, but it's something.
Sure.
It's got to be. And for me, because it's just how I am.
You figured out what works for you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
So one of the things I used to do is in the morning as part of the routine is a quick work, like an exercise where I'm jumping jacks, I'm doing push-ups, and I figured out that it wasn't right for me, and so I put stretching in instead, and that was actually a lot better, right? So it's about figuring out what's worked for you now. But here's the thing: is why, right? So 2 years ago when you did this, why did you suddenly say, you know what, I need to start changing something? Because for a lot of people, that just listening and saying, oh, that person's doing it, so I should too. You're not going to be able to be consistent with it. You're not going to enjoy it and figure out why you're doing it. So did you have that moment of clarity, or were you just like, hey, I'll test this out, and then you slowly figured out why you were doing it? And because I think that's super important is your why, right? Why are you being consistent? Why are you doing this? Is it for business? Is it for family? What is the reasons?
Well, I think you look at people that are successful, right? I want to be successful. So I knew that, right? I knew that I want to be successful. I don't care what it's in, but I'm going to be the best in whatever that I put my mind to, right? So I have kind of a different thought process, which is, well, I was listening to Bigger Pockets for a reason, right? I wanted to be a successful real estate investor. Okay. So I'm listening to quote unquote mentors who are already there, or at least they're already in a position that I want to be, right? So I'm seeing, well, what do you do? Because whatever I'm doing is not working, right? I'm not a multimillionaire real estate investor yet, right? I will be, but I'm not there yet. So what is someone doing that is already there? Well, they have a freaking insane morning routine. And that might not be what makes somebody there could be, I'm not sure if Cardone has a morning routine. He may or may not. I am sure he does, but if he didn't, I wouldn't be that surprised. But if it's something that makes you feel more confident to then get you in a position where you feel more comfortable to take the next step, then I'm going to do whatever it takes. So what I looked at these morning routines as, you kind of believe it, right? You just believe, okay, if this person's doing it and they're successful, well, I'm going to at least do that. I got to at least make sure I'm unloading my gun here to get to that position I want to get into, right? Yeah. So that's really what it came down to, is that this person was successful. They had a morning routine. I don't have a morning routine, and I don't think I'm successful right now where I want to be. I know I have it in me, but I want to be able to do whatever I need to do to accomplish it. So if that's something that I need to do, I'm going to do it. But you got to kind of believe. Like I always I'm just going to believe in the system, and then I'm going to see where the chips fall when I throw them out there. Mm-hmm. And then once it starts to work, right? Like you don't just meditate in the beginning and think like, I'm doing this right. Right?
Yeah, right.
You know, it takes some time to realize, oh, I'm feeling more comfortable when someone's, you know, kind of increasing their blood pressure and maybe are getting a little bit, you know, maybe they're yelling at me for something, right? Whatever it is, my wife, whatever it is.
Yeah, I mean your spouse, totally. Keep going.
But I'm comfortable, right? So I'm not raising my blood. I'm not getting amped up, and I'm like, I wonder why? Because usually I would probably try to match that, but it's not going to help me. So
you think meditation has a huge play in that specific situation, right?
Absolutely.
Because meditation for me is something that when I miss a day, I can almost feel it.
Sure.
Like certain things aggravate me more. I'm not as creative. It's a really weird feeling. Once you start to consistently do it and you skip a day or two, you can tell, right? Yeah. Like you just said, you're, what would you say? What's going through your head when, let's say, I mean, we all get in arguments and, with either friends or spouses or significant others, whatever it is, even our kids, right?
Sure.
And now, since you've been a 2-year plus daily meditation, what goes through when you start to the argument starts to escalate, or you guys are talking back and forth? What kind of process goes through your head when that starts?
That's funny. So
if you think about it,
yeah, when you think about it, because I never really totally thought about that, but I think you just take a kind of step back. Right. And you're not ready to think super emotionally when someone's getting emotionally charged and they're angry, happy, sad, whatever it might be. You're just kind of, you're just witnessing it, and you're not really feeling any sort of way quite yet.
Right.
You know what I mean? You're just kind of taking in what they're saying, analyzing it. And it's really kind of an interesting thing. I think it's more of, for instance, I was recently just called. So I left my current position, and You
were in sales.
I was in sales.
Yeah, you were at a sales company, and you were doing pretty well there, right? If I'm understanding.
I was doing well, thank you. Yeah, and I got a phone call.
Lucrative, right? Also making some. So the reason I asked this, I want to set up,
please,
the decision. I'm guessing you're going towards the decision here, but you were in a very good financial and good job position,
right,
with a company, and so now I just wanted to make sure that our listeners knew where you were,
sure,
and so that, because it's a tough decision leaving. There's a lot of people that like their job, but maybe don't like their job, but they won't leave because they're comfortable. They're making a certain amount of money, and they're uncertain of what's next or what's past that. So, and you actually went through this,
right?
So I'm sorry to interrupt, but
no, I need to start. I need to finish my thoughts.
Sorry,
no, not your thing. Julie, my wife, always goes, you got to finish your thought. Justin asked me a question, which was,
it's fine.
What are your thoughts when you're getting, when you're about to, someone's talking to you?
This can go anywhere.
Yeah.
It's okay.
I need to start finishing my thoughts better.
So let's go back to that, right? Okay. So it's almost like, if I can say this correct, because I understand, right? So it's almost as if you're being proactive rather than reactive, right? So reactive is your emotions come in, you go to anger, you go to
right.
Instead of being proactive, say, okay, here's what's happening.
Right.
How can I manage this?
Yeah.
How am I feeling? What way can we really figure out this without blowing up?
Yeah.
Without
I guess it's like a neutral thing, right?
Cool.
I just try to be neutral, in everything now. And I don't know. It's a great question, and it's something that I'm going to start thinking about more when that does happen. So I think that's a good thought-provoking question, buddy.
It's almost like an out of body, like you're like looking at the whole perspective from a different point of view. It's really weird, and you don't even understand how it's happening.
No, no.
So that's right. So one thing I would like to touch on there is along that topic is it's not like it's some magic trick when you start meditating every day, even just the 10 minutes. Like, I do 10 to 15, sometimes 20 minutes. And you start to, though, realize these things that are happening to you that are different. You're like, whoa, I didn't notice that.
Right.
And we can probably list off a million of them, but I want to go back to what we were talking about with you. You were on a tangent here talking about your recently leaving that job.
Yeah.
Going into full time into your real estate career, which is amazing, and
Thank
kudos.
You,
I know we had a conversation beforehand about it, right?
Yeah, thanks, buddy.
And going both feet in, very similar to what I did 8-9 years ago.
Exactly. Which I got to tell you, you were one of the inspirations for it, buddy.
Oh, well,
it's true. This is not easy. It's scary, but when you know what you know, like I was asked, I was kind of focusing more on real estate than I was on my job, right? And I took my job very seriously.
Yeah.
I was, I'd like to think, a top 5 guy there, right? Whether it's being a good employee, like being a good guy, top 5 guy, and as well as a top 5 performer, right?
Yeah.
So I liked that I was both of those guys, right? I was just a company guy.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to start being a screw up where I was taking advantage of the company side, right? By not working so much on CGI time and more on, on my stuff, right? But I was, and that's where I was at. To the point where they didn't really care as long as you were performing, right?
Sure.
And that's just the truth. And I think that should be with any sales company. You just want performance. But my performance was dipping, and I took it seriously. So when I was asked, hey, where are you going? Where you been, buddy? Like, and then they were being nice about it, and I was just like, I think I'm done. I'm done. Well, they're like, whoa, well, what?
Yeah.
What day? And I go, Friday. But I had talks before with some mentors there before that actually happened, right? They kind of saw that was going to happen. They didn't think it was going to be that quick.
Yeah.
And I think they were thinking maybe he's just, going through something, little rut, but I wasn't. It was serious.
That's a really tough decision for anybody to make.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate actually hearing you say that you actually had the company in mind, where you just felt like you were doing a disservice a little bit by putting more time into the real estate company than them. So you kind of had that epiphany of like, look, it's time. Like this, I just got to do it.
Yeah, I had a good reputation there, and I still do. I think,
You hope to think.
I think no, but I didn't want to tarnish that because I don't want to burn bridges, and I respect what they gave me. Mm-hmm. They gave me the mindset to. They gave me the ability to not have to worry about money for a little while, mm-hmm. right? Where I was making really good money, and they gave me sales in general helps you stretch your comfortability, right? Like I wouldn't be probably comfortable just starting my own business unless I was in sales.
Yeah, makes
you know
sense.
What I mean?
Yeah. Totally.
So I think being in sales, as well as having the mentors there, and then just it was a multitude of things that what it was. But yeah, it was time to go, but I didn't want to go in a bad way.
Okay. Now, let me ask you this. You're married, no kids yet,
no
right?
Kids.
Did you have a conversation beforehand with your wife, your partner there?
Yes.
About leaving?
She's awesome. So Julie, she just super supportive in anything that I want to do. And she knows, I think she has an understanding of the work ethic that I'm going to put into it.
Yeah.
She knows that it's probably going to turn out okay, right? I'm sure it was a little worrisome, right? That, I'm stepping away from a 6-figure job,
right?
And kind of going into the unknown. But she had, we were both under the same, hey, you got one shot at this. we don't have any kids. This is the time to do it if you're going to do it. And I support you, all that stuff. So it really was, she was a huge, I mean, you think about the people that will tell you, don't do it. Like, think about the wives and husbands that would say, no, I don't think it's a good idea. Like, you don't need that.
You're right.
You don't need that negativity in your life, son. So but I get where those people could come from.
Yeah.
But she didn't do that.
Right. Yeah. And the reason I asked that is because that was part of it. I wanted to hear that. And then also, I've made some idiotic mistakes in the past where I just made the decision without talking.
Oh, sure.
Right. And and this was because I was just mindlessly going about life, selfishly going about life, right?
Yeah.
Making decisions, obviously thinking about the family itself, but without consulting or talking to your partner, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of people can probably relate to that.
Maybe I made some better decisions so that I've made.
So you were mindful. You thought, okay, this is important.
Yeah.
I'm in a marriage. I have to talk to her about this too. I can't just go out and do it. Right. Whereas in the past, I personally came home and like, hey, I'm trying this new thing out.
Right.
What? Why didn't we tell? Oh, I'm sorry. But
yeah. So you learn.
You learn. Totally. You learn.
You learn too. I've always wanted more. I've always wanted more. And the reality was, are
you glad you made this decision that you made? How long has it been? About 3 months?
It's about 3 months.
That's a big life decision, especially at 30 years old.
Yeah.
So not that you're old or younger, but it's a lot easier to make decisions when you're 18.
Could
20,
be, right?
And not married.
Yeah.
And single.
Yeah.
So, but are you glad, like looking back at it now, are you glad that you made that move so far?
It's the best thing I've ever done.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's great to hear.
Yeah.
And he's saying
really
with
is.
a smile on his face too.
It's a
so
giant
that's true.
freaking smile, baby. Ear to ear. It really is. It really is. I'm excited.
Yeah. And you took the time out today to come on the podcast from your real estate work. I mean, you were outside making a phone call before this.
Yeah.
So you're obviously making moves and talking to investors and everything.
Yeah. It's awesome. I love it. I love it, buddy. It's a great thing. It really is. And I think, I basically looked at it like this. I said, baby, to Julie.
You call her baby?
I call you baby. No, I call
Julie
Julie
call
baby.
Julie baby?
Yeah.
That's cute.
Yeah. And I said, listen, I mean, I knew it was going to be longer than this, right? But I go, let's say it's a year, right? I'm going to give this a year, okay? What do people do when they go get their MBA? They basically quit their job and then they go to school for a year, right? To get their master's in business. I'm like, I'm doing the same thing, except I'm not going to be paying $50,000, right? I'm going to do it for myself straight up, right off the get-go, right? So I looked at it as my MBA was my Marty business adventure, is what I labeled it. So I said, I'm going to give it a year, okay?
Yeah.
I'm going to give it a year. And if worst came to worst, I didn't make any money, which is not going to happen, okay? Because I'm already making money. But let's say
you were already, you had it built up. Yep.
Well, and I'm not even, but I go, worst came to worst, it would be like I got my MBA.
Sure.
Right?
Love it.
And I go, so I don't see any bad side of this. Yeah. So I was really excited about it, and I think I sold her on that. Yeah. I don't think I did. Maybe I didn't, but in my head I did.
Yeah, yeah. And in your head, I think that when you said, I'm going to give it a year, I think inside your head you really were like, I don't need to give this a year. I know I'm going to be successful in this.
But just to kind of like, pad her up a little bit.
Oh, absolutely.
Hey, I'll go back to, my current job if it doesn't work out.
Yeah. But that is true too, right?
Absolutely.
So it was totally true. But in your head, you knew like this was, what you're destined to do. And
I know what I'm destined to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this is just the beginning for you.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yep. That's awesome.
That's good. I love hearing that. And I want to go back to you using the Headspace app. There's going to be a lot of people that are going to listen to this that are on the fence or just interested to hear more about different ways that people are using mindful activities, whether it's yoga, meditation, just therapy, anything that they're using to better their life or be aware or better the people around them, right? Are you using like the courses on there? I've used the Headspace apps before. And I'm just curious as far as the courses. Did you start when you started off? Were you using the beginner stuff for people that are first starting off? And how long did you start when you first were meditating?
Yeah, well, I should say that before I found Headspace, I knew how important when I listened to the the Morning Miracle, when I was researching that, how important meditation was, or mindfulness is really what I should say. And I just went on YouTube and I just wrote, 5-minute meditation. I didn't really know what I was doing.
Okay.
So I started with that. So it was just I just typed in 5, 10, 15-minute meditation on YouTube, and you kind of just go, through that experience.
Yeah.
But then I was listening to a podcast where Tim Ferriss was
great podcast,
was explaining Headspace. And that's what he used, or he started with. I don't know if he uses it now, but that's something that he used. And, he talked very favorably about it. So I downloaded it, and I did the beginner course, right?
Awesome.
And it was just so, the guy's got a British accent. It's super soothing, it's awesome. So, and he's like, the best part about that, and I don't know how anybody else meditates, but he goes, there's no right or wrong way of doing this. You don't, you have this like misconceived notion that you gotta be, in a like a dark room with candles and crystals. Don't get me wrong, I love crystals. I'm glad they're here today because I do feel more comfortable. I feel like a lot more at ease, which is great. But you don't need all that.
Yeah.
You don't need all that. You just need to be there, be present, and just breathe. Right. Just breathe.
Yeah.
And so that's really helped me going, okay, I can do that. I can show up, and you don't have to show up with a feeling of, I'm going to be mindful today. No, you just show up.
Yeah.
And you just breathe, and then you kind of just evaluate what your experience is during that session, and then on your way.
And then you're on your way.
You're on your way. You can't do it right or wrong. You just do. And I thought that was beautiful. I was like, I can do that. I can make time for it because it is important to me, and I do feel that it's helpful for me, and because I've had experiences where it's really helped me a lot. So it's just Headspace is a great app.
Yeah, I used that too when I first started, and when have you talked to other people about? Are you pretty quiet about your practice, or do you talk to? Because lately I've been talking to a lot of people about it, just because I know the impact and the power of it. It's almost like a weird superpower,
it is.
Right? And I think that the more aware we can make people of it, and just 5-10 minutes a day, the more happier the world can be.
Yeah,
honestly,
I agree,
seriously,
buddy.
the more relaxed people can have, the better conversations that can be made. So, are you pretty quiet with it, or do you talk to people about it a little bit?
I do. I think I do talk about it.
Yeah, and when you do talk to them, it was a pretty yes or no question. So when you do talk to them, what are your experiences that you get from them, that if they do it or if they don't do it, especially the people that aren't doing it, that say, oh yeah, I tried, or what kind of responses have you gotten from them?
I think it's more of they haven't done it.
Okay.
Yeah, the way I've, from at least my experience, and some have maybe, but I think a lot of them have just been like very curious about it.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that it's really a subject that comes up when you're talking about personal development.
Right.
So it's like tough to how do you get in that? Hey, meditation during the morning or at night. It's like when people are talking about. Oh, you know what? So it's more like when someone was talking to me about having a lot of stress, they had trouble sleeping. I'd mentioned, they're like, I'm doing the melatonin, I'm doing all of this stuff. And I was like, have you ever just 5 minutes just meditated and just try to breathe through your, just literally just breathe for a second and let your mind rest.
Right.
I think people have to just really do it to kind of see, because I'm not an expert, right? I know nothing.
Yeah.
I really do. I've done about 1,600 on the Headspace app. I just saw it today. It was like 1,600 minutes of meditation, right? So I really am brand new at this, and I think just when people, you have to want to kind of figure it out too. You gotta try to do it on your own. So I just tell them, hey, it's something that I do. It's really helped me a lot, and I think just hearing it from me as just I'm Marty Grizzanti. I'm just a regular guy.
Right.
I'm not like a guru online. I'm not a yoga professional. Not that that's
some billionaire that's doing.
Yeah, I'm not a
it.
CEO of Apple. I'm just a regular guy. I do it. It's helped me. Yeah. It may help you.
I love that. I think that's a great approach to it. I think here's what I believe. Okay, so in the 1950s, All right. And I don't know if we've talked about this,
No.
but in the 1950s, people started learning about exercise.
Okay.
And how it affects the body and how it keeps you healthier. And
You mean like cigarettes? Like that's what in the 50s
Yeah,
was like, what cigarette is the best exercise for my
how,
life?
how many times can we bring it back and forth from the mouth?
Yeah.
And yeah, so the and there wasn't a ton of gyms
Right.
either.
I believe it.
And once science started proving how important exercise was, now fast forward to today, no one was working out. Nobody was getting
Right.
quote unquote jacked or
Right.
healthy or CrossFit. None of that stuff.
Jogging wasn't invented
No,
yet. Yeah.
running, all that, right? Jogging,
Yeah.
the fancy
Wasn't
jogging.
quite there yet.
So, and fast forward to today, even years ago, most people know how important working out is, and so many people do it. And there's a gym every time you turn a corner.
Yeah, that's
there's
true.
another gym, right?
Yep.
So, what I believe is we're in the 1950s, maybe 60s of mindfulness or meditation. Yoga has been
100%.
catching on big time, right?
Yeah.
And that's important. When I get out of a yoga, I mean, that's a whole nother subject, but when I get out of a yoga class, I feel amazing in my day. I have a great day after doing that.
I believe it.
And it continues on. But so where I was saying was, I think we're in the 1950s, 60s of meditation, where people are science is just starting to prove how you can actually change your brain.
I agree.
How you can control your emotions, manage your emotions a lot more. I mean, the list of what it does, I mean, it gives you more confidence. It helps you understand yourself better, be more creative, have better ideas, right? All this stuff that meditation does, it's wild.
Agreed.
And they're proving it. There's studies that are proving it. And again, these are just things I read. So I'm not an expert, like you said, on it. So I think we're at that point, and that's why I really believe it's so important to talk about it more and bring it into people's perspective of how powerful it can be. I mean, you mentioned sleep earlier.
Yeah.
That's another proponent of it, is it helps with a deeper, better sleep, falling asleep faster, having a better sleep.
Like tossing and turning, like when you're in
Yeah.
that position of like you woke up at night, and I think about all the parents, like I'm not a parent, but I just think about all the parents that get woken up in the middle of the night, right? I got a lot of buddies that are like, oh, it's horrifying and all this stuff, right? And I'm like, and I should bring it up more, right? But I don't want to come off as like I'm like this guru guy either, where I'm like, well, you should, they're like, meditate, you got to kind of figure it out on your own. And I try to, hey, meditation, you just take a couple breaths in, right? You count your breaths, 5-6 breaths, you're going to be passed out, I really believe it. I mean, I believe if you do your breathing exercises when you're in that situation where you can't get back to sleep and you just start breathing and really being mindful of your breath, you will pass out.
Yeah, you're not thinking about anything else.
Exactly.
And so I love this stat. I think it's, and I don't know if you know this now, but 50 to 70,000 thoughts a day.
Oh, it's insane.
Pop into everybody's head.
It's horrifying.
Right. So, and when I talk to people about meditation, or they ask me about it, they're like, man, I tried and it's just not for me. Like it's just not, I can't do it. I can't get still. Like too many things coming in. And my response every time is, that's okay.
Yeah.
That's how it's supposed to be.
Yeah, exactly. It's so, there's no right. Again, the first couple times I did it, exactly. I'm just sitting here, but that's a part of it, is just sitting there, right?
Yeah.
Is really just standing still for a second.
Totally.
That's why the guided helped me out a lot. I think anybody that's like, I tried it, but I know I just didn't work. I think when someone is saying you're okay, you're doing the right thing, that helps out with your confidence. You hear that enough times, you're going to keep doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And then they slowly taper off with the guidedness where it's just really you doing it. And then
a lot more silence.
Yeah. And you're off.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're on the run.
Yeah. And that's the exact process that I went through, and that I think anybody that wants to try it should go through, is some sort of guided, and then going off from there. And there's now personally, I do a lot less guided. It's been, I don't know, 8-9 months around there, and I just am able to do 15 minutes of just checking in with myself,
that's awesome.
breathing, and
that's awesome.
And I enjoy that more
you
right
do?
now.
Okay, yeah, that's
and then
awesome.
every now and then I'll tap into a guided meditation. One of my favorites, actually. I haven't talked to you about it, but is David G's, and he's on Spotify.
Okay.
He's on the Insight Timer, which is another great app to use. It's called Insight Timer.
Okay.
And I'll put that in the show notes. But yeah, so do you have anybody, or is it mainly the Headspace app that you're using, or have you explored other guided meditators or I don't want to call them.
No, I know that's not a good word.
What should we call them? What do you
teachers maybe?
Teachers? Okay.
Yeah, professionals.
Meditating professionals.
Professionals. Like, yeah, guru's got like a bad connotation to it. So yeah, but professionals in what I've found besides Headspace that's helped me out is like I do a lot of running. So like a running meditation. So I'll listen to some.
What's that?
Yeah. So, well, I guess it was still with Headspace, but Nike did one too. So Nike came out with their own. There's like a running coach. So the Olympians have their own like mindful running coach.
Interesting.
Listen. The experts are doing it. The people that are like killing it right now, they're doing it. I mean, it's like if you know it works, okay, and you know successful people are doing it.
Yeah. Top athletes,
top performers, top business people, top moms and dads, top everybody, right, are doing it. You may want to look into it. That's all. You know, that's all I'm saying. You just try it out.
You're 100% right.
Right.
And it gets us. I think it gets a stigma where it's like, oh, you have to have a beard and long hair, and like you said earlier, be in a room with like candles going,
right?
But
it's not true.
No, it's not. And a lot of the Buddha, it obviously originated from Buddhists and Buddhism. There's this word that they call it, by the way. It's called McMindfulness. So like they call it McMind, but which is, I was reading a book with Susie. It's called Unplugged Meditation. She owns studios in LA called Unplugged. They're just meditation studios, like the first one ever. And in her book, she mentions that, and she says. Which say, oh, that's okay. It can be McMindful. That way everybody can take a bite out of it every single day or something like that. I can't remember the exact quote. But yeah, and it made, when I read that, it made total sense because in order to make it mainstream, in order to get more people to understand it, it has to be like, I don't want to say cool, but it just has to be simple.
You gotta make it simple.
And a normal people are doing it.
Right.
Everyday people are doing it. Not just those hippies that go, that.
Right.
Whatever you want to, that go to, what's that place? Every year it's in like the desert.
Oh,
why can't I think? I'm having a brain.
I don't know. I know what you're talking about though. It's probably like there's probably Joshua Tree or something.
Yeah, it's gonna
something over there.
Yeah, it'll come to me in a minute.
But you're right. It should be seen more by people, and I think what's probably gonna happen is there's gonna be like a TV show, on CBS. And it's about a guy that does meditation, and it's going to go off.
And everybody's like, oh, wow.
Yeah, it's going to be like a Dancing with the Stars meditation or something. Everybody's watching that.
That's good. Yeah. All right, Marty, I want to ask a couple questions here before we wrap up our conversation. And one of the questions I want to ask is, over the past several years, whether you were going through your routines and meditations and everything else or not, what was one of your biggest challenges? And maybe you did have a challenge when you were making that transition into this. Maybe there was something going on in life.
Yeah. So I think one of the challenges is finding time to do the routine, right? To implement it and to stick to it. Yeah. So one of the challenges was just waking up earlier.
Oh, okay.
That's a challenge. Yeah. And so you really, because you want to have your time. You really want to have your own pocket of time where you don't have to worry about, I got to take the dog out, I got to start making lunches, whatever it is. So it was waking up an hour earlier than I'm normally waking up.
And you did that.
And I did
instantly.
That. Yeah.
You just changed that.
What
time you went from what time to?
I went from about like 7:15 to like 6:15, 6:30.
Cool. So
it's a pretty big hour. I mean, you know what I mean? So
change.
It's a big change, but you just go to bed earlier.
Yeah. What time you go to bed?
So people joke all the time that we're like super grandma, grandpa, but we're.
Are you and Julie?
Yeah. We're in bed, 9:30,
You're in bed, falling asleep by
10:30, right? So that's not average. I got to tell you, that cannot be average of most people because people are having dinner at 8:00.
Well, if it makes you feel better, that's my wife and my.
Oh, good.
9:30, 9:45 and sleep by 10.
That's beautiful.
Does that make you feel better?
Yeah. Well, I know you wake. I got a text message from you at like 5:45 the other day, so I get it.
Sometimes I forget like what time it is in the morning that I text.
You forget these normies that don't get up and you know.
But I don't actually. I don't look at my phone right away unless so 5 o'clock and then 45 minutes later I might pick up my phone.
Oh, okay. I got to start doing that too. Maybe I should stop putting it right into my phone and maybe writing out my what I'm grateful for.
Well, as long as you're not like
journal.
looking at all your other stuff on the phone. You can
I try not to do that either. Yeah.
Because then your head starts going all over the place.
It's true.
Like you said.
It can ruin it.
So that's awesome. So you changed your early, because it's so hard to, I stay up till midnight every day. Now I'm going to get up an hour earlier. It's not going to work.
It's not going to work. Yeah. You're really
It's about discipline, making your choices.
Discipline. And that's really that's everything in my belief is that discipline, just like Jocko Willink, he says this, he's a great guy to follow. Discipline equals freedom. If you discipline your day yourself, it's not easy. That's the truth. Any of this stuff, quitting your job, starting your own company, waking up an hour early, eating right, going to work out, taking a cold shower, any of that stuff that's going to help you and make you better is not easy, or everyone would be doing it, right?
Correct.
But it is my foundation of my belief that discipline equals freedom, and I try to really live that.
Yeah, I agree 100% with that. We can go into a tangent on scheduling and everything to have that discipline and having that freedom. So I'm glad you answered that question about your challenge that you're going through, how you're dealing with it. And then the next question I'm going to ask you is there anything that we covered today that we didn't cover that maybe before you walked in, you said, I hope he asked this, or I hope we talk about this. Is there anything that you want to talk to our listeners about or mention or bring up to talk about?
Well, it's not really. I think we really covered a pretty good amount. Yeah. I mean, then we could probably, dig into a few of these things, but I got to tell you, good first episode, baby. You know what I mean?
Awesome.
At the end of the day.
Yeah. Thank you for coming on, Marty.
Buddy.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. This has been a lot of fun. You guys are awesome. So you got a great setup, beautiful house, beautiful kids, great wife, beautiful wife.
Appreciate it.
So thank you.
Well, we'll have you on again sometime.
Hell yeah.
Thanks.
All right, bro.